Hi everybody, my name's Tino Hernandez and I'm Head of Communications at Chat Academies. We run 4 fantastic primaries and a really wonderful secondary school in the same part of North London. And today I'm talking to Professor Hewitt, who is one of the leaders of our teacher training partnership program. We're going to talk about all things relating to training to be a teacher. Des, welcome and thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Tino. Yeah, my name's Des Hewitt. I'm Head of Primary and Early Years Teacher Education at Warwick. I've been working now with the Cuckoo Hall group with the PGCE, which is based in London. It's fantastic that we're working with you down there. I've got to say, it's one of the favourite things I do in our job. It's absolutely brilliant.
What I wanted to ask you were just some questions because there'll be people watching this who who are very committed to train to be a teacher or maybe thinking about training to be a teacher at this time. So I guess probably the most obvious question is, why become a teacher?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Why become a teacher? Why now? I think is a good question as well. What I would say is, being a teacher, it's one of the best things out. Actually why become a teacher? Well, you can make a difference to someone's lives. And I've seen that when I've worked with children down in Cuckoo Hall and the various schools in the trust with the secondary children. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant working with the students there. And actually also having PGCE students that we train with you locally in the Cuckoo Hall schools is fantastic, because you can very often see people coming from the local community, coming from the area, coming from London. Sometimes people just like me, who, I was a customs officer before I came into education. And here I am, being a teacher for 30 odd years or so, now professor, but it's just one of the best things out to be a teacher. There's so many different things that you can get involved in education, so many opportunities as well. I know you've been talking to other people, Tino, but I think it might be helpful for me just to give you a sense of, what does this thing look like down at Cuckoo Hall. So it's local. It's a PGCE course. So, in a sense, you get 3 for the price of 1, which is that you get a postgraduate certificate in education. There are master's credits, which is very common to all PGCE courses. I lead on the primary and early years teacher education, but there's also a version for secondary as well. And then also you get qualified teacher status, and it's the qualified teacher status that you need if you want to be a teacher in schools, whether it's early years, primary or secondary. Our course simply is looking at professional inquiry, looking at the bigger themes, if you like things like behaviour. I'm by nature, I'm a specialist in the teacher reading and literacy, and also special education as well. And that's really where my heart lies as well. I absolutely love working in those sort of areas.
We did regard it as something of a coup in, I think, 2017 when we signed a partnership with Warwick. If you look at any of the tables, the world rankings of educational universities across the world, Warwick is very high up there. So it was an absolute coup for us. But so what's distinctive about the Warwick University PGCE, perhaps?
Yeah, I think it was outstanding with Ofsted. It's been like that for 10, 15 years or so now. So you're going to get a really, really good quality program. It is with a top 10 university in England, top 100 internationally as well, which is another aspect. But what I would say, number one, for me, we're all about people. We always treat people decently. That's one of the main motives that, when I recruit new staff and our students, we always say, the number one thing is about treating people decently. So I think that friendly, caring approach. So, we normally have up to about 20 or so students in the group down at Cuckoo Hall. So not only have you got like a world-class university behind you, but you've got a kind of small group that you're with. You'll get to know people really, really well. But then also you got the benefit of working with a place like Warwick, which has got access to, the latest research, but also very, very practically focused as well. And I think that's particularly what comes through Cuckoo Hall as well, where we can really give you the experiences in the classroom. We've got a fantastic colleague in Cuckoo Hall called Flo Shimoli, Flo leads the program down in Cuckoo Hall, down in London, and then people like myself, and then other colleagues, and in some cases that's online, and coronavirus permitting, face to face as well down in London. You'll have the opportunity to have experiences to really find out about the best approaches to teaching. So you really can make a difference with children. But I would say that personalised, caring approach for me is one of the number one things that's important in what we do.
If I became a trainee, what would my first sort of month or so look like in terms of the academic side of?
Yeah, well, the courses start in September, and we start with an induction. I mean, this year it's going to go across a couple of weeks. Linked to coronavirus as well, we'll be using online approaches, and increasingly we'll use online in the future as well. But we always want to give people a chance to meet each other, to meet their personal tutor, so everyone will have a personal tutor. We're very mindful to think about people's, well-being, their mental health, supporting them professionally. You'll also get a chance to, quite early on, to come into the classroom, to meet the classes that you'll be working with next year. And for me, those early weeks in school, when you get to know children, and the children coming into school to start with, and they feel a bit nervous, you probably feel a bit nervous as well as a teacher, that's a really good time for you to learn about what great teachers, which is the teachers that you have down at Cuckoo Hall, what is it that they do to help children make a good start.
And I should say, of course, we run 4 primaries and secondaries. So we've got Cuckoo Hall, Kingfisher Hall, Woodpecker Hall, Enfield Heights, and our secondary, the Heron Hall Academy.
And actually, we also work with schools across London as well. So it's not just within the Cuckoo Hall group. So, so it's wider than just Cuckoo Hall and the trust that we work with.
That's right. I imagine, perhaps if I'm really sort of interested in a teaching career, maybe I was thinking about it, and maybe I've really thought, well, now I'm going to make a decision. But I might be a little bit concerned, because will I be thrown into the classroom, having to work 5 days a week, because we all know teachers do have to work hard, very hard. And then I've got to do all this academic study with, all of you, professors and heads of department over at Warwick University. What's the balance between the learning, the academic side, and the teaching?
Yeah, I think that the one thing I would say is we always do have a program that looks holistically at what students need to train as a teacher. There's always a good balance really between what you need as a professional and also the academic side. We think both of them go hand to hand, and the one supports the other. Sort of specifically on the School Direct program, which is the one that you'd be working with Cuckoo Hall, it's basically Monday through to Thursday in the classroom, and that might be working with small groups to start with. Eventually, before Christmas, working up to somewhere between 30 and 50% teaching, but always supported by the class teacher and your mentor. So they'll help you out with things like planning. They'll give you tips, give you suggestions, strategies for things like behaviour management. And then as you then go through into the second part of the year in the spring, you'll go to another school, because it's not only important to learn about, approaches in one school, but it's good to learn about different approaches. So going to a different trust sometimes, or different school within the Cuckoo Hall group. And then you'll then come back to the first placement that you're in the autumn. You come back to that after Easter, and that's where you'll complete your placement all the way through to the end of the summer term in July. And again, by that point, you'll be doing a higher proportion of teaching, really getting a sense of, what's it feel like to be a teacher. So we always like the little phrase, you need to be school ready. So, what do you need to do? Not only getting a job, because that's really important, that's what people absolutely want from the course. And we got a really good success rate on that. But we want you to be ready so that when you go into your new job in the following September, you're school ready. You know about planning, you know about assessment, you know about how to set the classroom up as well. And actually, working at that higher rate as well, whereby you are the class teacher, the class teacher themselves that you'd be working with, so you always share a class to start with, they'll pull back, and effectively it'll be like your class. And that is a fantastic experience for anyone who's training, to get to that sort of level where all the kind of parts of the jigsaw kind of come together, and then you kind of take things on yourself.
I have to, as you know, I spent a reasonable amount of my time as head of communications in the schools, and one of the things that's very notable is you see those PGCEs in their early days and the early weeks and months in the classroom, and then you see them towards the end of the year, and they are completely transformed people. They've obviously been taught a lot. The other question one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, Des, is given your experience, is what are some of the main challenges for someone that starts to train to be a teacher? Because I imagine it's not all plain sailing.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's a really good idea to just be thinking about, the kind of key challenges. I think, I mean, even after 30 years or so now, I feel a bit nervous when I go into the classroom in September, or whether it's in a school or university. So I think, just having the confidence to be in front of, 20 or 30 children is a really big thing. I think the challenge as well these days is just thinking about the whole range of opportunities in the classroom. So you've got children from lots of different language backgrounds, different cultures, and the challenge of supporting children who are working at sort of different levels. But actually that is all part of the professional interest, really, becoming a teacher. No day is the same. Even though you might be in your one classroom, you're working with lots of interesting personalities and different individuals. But actually, it's not just children, it's their families as well. Actually, I've done a lot of work with Tina, where we've worked with the local community, and that has been one of the best things, I think, that Cooker Hall and the group does. So these are challenges, but I would say to anyone, always look for the opportunity in difficulty and challenge. And I think the one thing that we would say from Warwick, and also working with Cooker Hall as well, is that we not only help you to know more, but to know more about yourself. And you will be a different person by the end of the year. You'll find an awful lot about yourself, but an awful lot about teaching as well. And those two things kind of go hand in hand together.
And how do you pass the year? Is it regular assessments? Is it examinations? Is it regular assignments that get marked? How is it done at Warwick?
So when you're in the classroom, obviously, the important aspect of becoming a teacher is training in the classroom. So you'll have a mentor, whichever placements you're in Cooker Hall or the associated schools. They will normally observe you once a week. And then someone like me or one of my colleagues will come in once a term normally to observe you, give you some feedback. And as always, recognising what's going well, but also recognising things that you can develop in further, setting people targets. We do assessments on your placements every half term or so. Again, that recognises what's going well, also what you could work on a little bit more. And then at the end of the year, when you are in your final placement, we do that same thing again, just to confirm that you're meeting the teacher standards, and that's what you need to meet in order to qualify as a teacher. And then along the way, and again, I would say Warwick probably has less paperwork, because we want you to completely focus on the important stuff, which is what's going on in the classroom. We then also ask you to do a small number of assignments linked to the master's element of the PGCE programme, where you can, for instance, look at themes like differentiation or inclusion and more generic aspects of education in our professional inquiry module. There you'd be writing an essay on something there. You'd also have a lot of training around special needs. So we're doing a lot of work on that this year. And I'd say that's quite innovative in what we're doing at Warwick, that you may not get if you go to other universities. And then in our subject studies assignments, so we cover all the subjects that you need to cover. We particularly focus on language and communication, and how that's a really important aspect of what you teach in school. So actually, a lot of students say, I'm a bit worried about doing these, but by the end of that, they really get their heads into a new topic, and it's really fascinating. In fact, I've literally just come from another meeting where students are just giving their feedback on the end of the year, and they said exactly that. It was a challenge, but they feel so well supported, and they feel so proud of what they've achieved this year. And I think anyone who'd like to come into the Cuckoo Hall PGCE will have that same experience as well.
I just wanted to maybe ask you a final couple of questions. One is around sort of maybe the level of contact, because obviously Warwick is it's up in the, be careful, it's the Midlands, isn't it? So it's up in the Midlands. We're in North London. You said there's some set aside days and time for study, but what kind of contact do I get with Warwick University? If I'm struggling or if I don't know something, is it easy access, or how does that work?
We've got a central program which we call Professional Inquiry, which are 6 days. In this coming year, 2020-21, those sessions will all be online. So actually the students won't even need to travel up to the Midlands, because you'll be able to look at materials online. Some will be what we call synchronous, which is in the moment, if you like. And others will be things that you can look at where there's pre-recorded materials, where we do specific digital activities. We're using things like 360-degree virtual tours of schools, again, using quite innovative technology. So we want you to have all the benefits of learning locally and being supported locally in schools in London, whilst also having the backup and the engagement with brilliant professionals like we have in Warwick. You'll always have a personal tutor from Warwick. So next year, one of our colleagues, Jen, will be the personal tutor. People always get on fantastically well with her, and she's there for students to support them. Very, very caring. And as always in life, I would say, things happen, but it's what do you do about it when it happens? And we're always very positive, and we'll always be very responsive, and we'll always be there for you. Other very practical things like using the library. Increasingly, universities and libraries are all online. We use a lot of online material, so online electronic books, electronic journals as well, video material, digital resources as well. That is both within our department. But I'm actually even encouraging the wider university and universities in general to think, about the kind of social aspects of being a university, and what can a student union do to kind of support you on that type of thing as well. I think. So go on.
No, I'm saying I have to say, sometimes when I'm over at our secondary school, Heron Hall Academy, that's where I think one day a week, or part of the day a week, the trainees gather, and I've said this before, but there's always laughter. There's always a kind of a really sort of a great group ethic, people socializing. So they seem to certainly engender a kind of a group, just a nice, it just seemed to be a nice group of people, and they seem to socialize as well, and from the different schools. The one last question I'd really like to ask you, please, Des, is let's just say, I'm interested, maybe I've got some other options, so I want to take it to another level, and I want to tease down the detail of the Warwick PGCE. How do I find out more about that?
Well, I would say your local contact in Cuckoo Hall and the trust is Flo Shimoni. She's fantastic. There'll be contact details through the Cuckoo Hall website as well. And again, if you just Google Centre for Teacher Education at Warwick University, we've got a website there. There's a very extensive set of web pages where it says, if you want to be a teacher, these are the options. And these are the possibilities. This says something about what we do at Warwick. We also have a range of webinars that we do online. And we're always happy to talk to people on the phone as well, whether it's people like myself, other colleagues who will be able to speak to you if you've got any queries at all. I would say to people, if you're interested, talk to us. We're there for you. This is a great time of change, but it's also a great time for opportunity as well. And I think, that's what you would have through the PGCE. In an uncertain world, the one thing I think is certain is education and becoming a teacher as well. So it's a great thing to think about at the moment. Actually, whether you are in a university at the moment, just think about what you do after graduation, or you might be in a job thinking about, transitioning to something else, or think about your different options. I mean, I did that, and I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and I've never looked back since. So, you know, if you're not sure, talk to us. We're there for you.
Great. Professor Hewitt, Des, thank you so much for joining me on the Zoom, and hopefully there'll be somebody watching here that will train with us, and we will get to meet them in the coming months to come.
Thanks
Thank you so
much,
much.
Dean. It's a real pleasure. Thank you. Bye.